Bruce, if you grew up in Provo like you and I did in the 1970s, and you were interested in golf at all, you knew who the BYU golf team members were in these days when Carl Tucker was really getting that program going. Names like Brannon, Nelford, McGowan, Reed. And you actually knew those guys as a young guy growing up at Riverside Country Club, and because your father, Bruce Sr., was closely involved with BYU athletics as a fan and supporter, and loved to have golfers around the house. What did you learn from being around guys like Mike Reed?
Well, Kurt, you know, it's funny that when my dad had a family of real estate brokers, builders, and at a young age, I don't know what his deal was. Mom could probably tell you, but they took off to Provo when I was just probably 1 or 2 years old. Mom, am I right yet, or am I fabricating already? Okay, I was 4. But it only took 4 years, and my dad was a member of the club, and it wasn't very long after that we had the BYU players in our home. And from there, it was just an absolute great time as a young kid who couldn't get enough golf. I was telling somebody the other day, Mike, you mentioned Mike Brannon. I caddied for Mike in the Cougar Classic when they used to let you caddy. And I was just a little guy, and I had his XL shirt, and you can only imagine what that looked like, and then the golf bag. But I was dragging that for 18 holes, and I was the proudest kid at Riverside Country Club. But yeah, our whole family has just been an absolute love affair with BYU and BYU golf since I can ever remember.
My impression of Carl Tucker is, first of all, as one of the Cougars who became one of the many former Cougars who became a golf analyst on television, said if you can't have lived part of your life around Carl Tucker, you not know how to talk. But my favorite expression of Carl's was that when someone asks you what you shot, all they want to know is a number. So I would ask you, what are some of your Carl Tuckerisms that have stuck with you through all these years?
You know, Carl was an absolute legend. You know, he had so many great accomplishments. He was a great coach. He was a great people person, and he could read his players better than anybody. And it was a privilege for myself to have a chance, a local boy, to be able to play at BYU. And Steve Schneider, who is also a member of the Hall of Fame, played on the team when I did, and we had a great time. And Carl was, to me, he was such a great friend. And it was, you know, Carl who taught us so much about the game, but also about competition, and then setting the standard. And he also, man, I could go on all night, and I'll save you from that. But you know, it was Glenn Tuckett and Carl that said, "Hey, we want to give this guy a chance," and you know. "32 years later, it's been an unbelievable ride."
Yes, it has. And Bruce, you said an interesting thing to me. I think you're the first person who ever was told that he was being inducted into a Hall of Fame and proceeded to say that you needed to earn that by, once you retired, giving back to the game by being one of the people like Sherm Hadfield and Gary Chadwick who are in the trenches. So, not that we want this to happen anytime soon, but when you do conclude your coaching career, what would you like to do to give back to golf?
Be a little bit like those guys. You know, what an incredible class. I'm honored to be able to go, you know, be in the Hall of Fame, the Utah Golf Hall of Fame, and go in with those guys that have given so much to our game in the state of Utah. Every one of the guys, you know, Doug Bivey, you know, there's just been personal relationships. I guess that's what happens when you're around so long. But you have Doug Bivey. He was the guy you had to beat. You're going to win the state am in 78 through 86. Sorry, Doug, we're dating you a little bit. But he was the guy. And, you know, then you have Sherm and you have Gary, who every time you went to a golf tournament, they were there. And you just felt better about yourself every time you got to see those guys. And then you got Randy, who, he and Garrett, I'm telling you, you can't go to a tournament anywhere in the state that they're not there trying to grow the game and market and make our game better in this state. Guy, I don't know him as well, but we have a history. I'm fortunate enough to play in the Golf Digest tournament that he played, or that he put on for many years. He was a good friend of Carl's. Who have I missed? Oh, Eric Hogue. You know, it's funny, we got this kid from South Africa. Well, there's a bunch of guys on a team right now that can hit the golf ball really strong. And I'm going to go ahead and give them a little bit of the equipment that we play now helps them quite a bit. So we have a kid from South Africa that can hit a forehand probably 270 yards in the air. Eric Hogue, I'm telling you, with the old ping equipment, Schneider, you can, I hope you'll agree with me, he could hit a 1-iron farther and straighter than any of us could hit a driver. And when he was on, he made more putts than you can imagine. And he was just a great friend. And like I said, I could go on all night.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Bruce. You are number one in the class alphabetically.
For sure. That's the only reason. But you know, you asked the question, and let me just say, to give back, that's where I need to go. Because, you know, to be in this class with this group, I've been a player, a competitor, and had so many friends in the state of Utah that have, you know, you look at Easton and his staff, and you go to Mark Cassey, Joe Watts, all those before. We're the recipients of great work and so much dedication to make our game great, and it's time, you know, near future to try to get back, and we'll go that direction.
Well said. One more time for Utah Golf's Hall of Fame inductee Bruce Brockbank.